Grant Mercer shoved Evelyn Hart so hard that the full-figured waitress struck the marble floor before 200 silent guests. Her tray shattered, Bianca Vale laughed, and 6 of Matteo Russo's bodyguards closed around them before Grant could take another step. Everyone assumed the feared Mafia boss was defending a helpless employee. They were wrong. Matteo's first order was to remove Evelyn for disrupting the gala until she pointed at the sealed case disappearing through his private corridor. That transfer was never authorized, she said, gripping the small black ledger Grant had tried to steal. The room had 52 minutes before Matteo signed away 3 waterfront terminals, and the woman he had mistaken for ordinary staff was the only person who knew how the betrayal worked. But if Matteo wanted her help, he would first have to explain why the traitor carried an authorization code issued from his own office. The 6 men did not touch Grant. They formed a silent wall around him, Bianca, and the broken tray while 2 others sealed the corridor with their bodies. Matteo Russo watched the silver case vanish through the service door, then turned to Evelyn. "Get her off the floor and away from my guests," he said. Evelyn pushed herself upright without accepting a guard's hand. Her left palm stung from the marble, but her voice remained level. "If you remove me, Mr. Russo, you lose the only record that man cannot alter." She pointed at Grant. A murmur traveled through the ballroom. Grant straightened his tuxedo jacket. "She refused a service order, dropped a tray, and created a scene in front of our donors." "I did not drop it." Evelyn glanced at the scattered glasses. "You pushed me because I would not open a bottle that never passed receiving." Bianca laughed. "Listen to her pretending she runs the hotel." "No," Evelyn said. "I only run the part none of you notice until it stops." Matteo looked toward Luca Moretti, his head of security. "Find the case." Luca sent 2 men through the service door. Then Matteo faced Evelyn. "What record?" Evelyn reached beneath her torn emerald jacket and removed a small black ledger held flat against her waist. Grant stepped toward her before he seemed to realize he had moved. 3 bodyguards closed the gap. That reaction told Matteo more than Grant's denial. Evelyn opened the ledger without handing it over. Every page carried a printed number, a time column, a receiving signature, and a carbon sheet. For every sealed item entering a restricted floor, someone signs custody, she explained. Liquor, gifts, contract cases, private files, all of it. Grant shook his head. "That notebook is her personal obsession. It became policy after your team lost a donor's medical case 4 years ago." Evelyn met his eyes. "You signed the change and took credit for it at the board review." "Show me the transfer," Matteo said. Evelyn turned to the final completed page. At 9:14, a courier used a table reassignment to move a sealed silver case from receiving to the east corridor. "The official schedule contains no such reassignment," Grant replied. "Exactly." Evelyn tapped one line. "Table 12 closed at 8:34 after its guests were moved. The assigned server signed out at 8:41, yet this entry claims she accepted a transfer at 9:14. Matteo extended his hand for the ledger. Evelyn closed it. "No." The ballroom went still, his expression hardened. "You believe refusing me is wise?" "I believe preserving the only unaltered record is wise." Her eyes moved toward Grant. "He controls the digital schedule, staff credentials, and security liaison desk. If I surrender the original before we identify who approved that code, it may disappear with everything else." Grant's face colored. "You are accusing a director because you are embarrassed." "I was embarrassed long before tonight." Evelyn spoke quietly enough to make the room listen. "Every time I repaired your staffing plans, corrected allergy lists, or stopped an unauthorized delivery, you presented the result as your management. I tolerated it because guests and employees stayed safe, but I will not sign a lie that puts innocent staff beneath a criminal investigation." Matteo studied her. She was not pleading with him, she was measuring risk. Luca returned from the corridor alone. "The case is gone," he said. The east camera feed went dark for 4 minutes. Grant spread his hands. "Then we are wasting time with a waitress while an intruder leaves." Evelyn reopened the ledger. No intruder could reach that corridor without a gold event credential. Only 7 were issued. 8, Matteo corrected. Evelyn looked at him. "Then one of you is already working from a false count." Luca checked his phone. "The system shows 7. Evelyn turned 3 pages back. "Receiving logged 8 credential packets at 6:10. I counted, sealed, and handed them to Mr. Mercer." Grant smiled as though indulging a confused employee. "She cannot prove what was inside a packet. I do not need to." Evelyn lifted the ledger so Matteo could see the carbon beneath the page. "I need to prove who accepted custody." For the first time, Grant stopped looking offended and began looking afraid. Matteo saw it. He lowered his extended hand. "Luca, no one leaves without credential verification. The doors remain unlocked. Anyone may leave after their name and credential are recorded." Then came the concession Evelyn had earned. "Miss Hart keeps the ledger. Grant stepped closer to him. The terminal delegation arrives in less than an hour. If you delay the signing, you jeopardize 3 waterfront properties. That signing is why the case matters, Evelyn said. Mateo turned sharply. How do you know what is in it? I do not. She refused the trap without hesitation. But contract materials are the only sealed cases your protocol permits on that corridor after 9, and someone used a dead table assignment to move one toward your signing room. Mateo's suspicion did not disappear. It changed direction. He ordered Luca to bring the event schedule and every credential receipt to the conference salon beside the ballroom. Then he told Grant to join them. Evelyn remained where she stood. Mateo paused at the doorway. You wanted me to listen. I wanted you to verify. Then come verify it. That depends. On what? On whether I enter as the employee you intend to blame or the professional whose procedure you need. Mateo glanced at Grant, at the executives avoiding Evelyn's eyes, and at the ledger she had protected while lying on the floor. As the professional, he said, it was not an apology, but it was the first honest price anyone in that ballroom had placed on her work. Evelyn followed him into the salon, carrying the ledger herself. Luca opened the digital schedule beside the printed credential list. The 914 transfer did not exist in either record. Grant leaned back with renewed confidence. There is your answer. Her notebook is wrong. Evelyn asked Luca to displace the revision history. A single line appeared beneath the schedule. The 914 entry had been deleted at 922 using an executive authorization code. Mateo read the code once. Then he looked toward Grant's locked expression. The authorization had come from Mateo's private office. The code belonged to an administrative terminal inside Mateo's private suite. Only Mateo, Luca, and Mateo's executive secretary were supposed to have access. Grant let out a slow breath. Then your breach is upstairs, not in my department. Perhaps, Evelyn said. But your credential packet opened the path. Grant turned toward Mateo. She is building a theory from handwritten notes because she resents hotel management. Mateo ignored the accusation. When was the code used? Luca enlarged the revision history. 922, 8 minutes after the transfer. And the camera? Evelyn asked. Disabled at 912 and restored at 916. She placed one finger beside the 914 ledger entry. The schedule was cleaned after the case had already crossed the corridor. Whoever used that code knew the delivery had succeeded. Mateo looked at Grant. Who reported success? Grant's smile barely moved. No one reported anything to me. Evelyn placed Grant's carbon-signed receipt beside the altered credential list. This proves you accepted 8 packets while the system now claims 7 existed. It does not prove I gave one away, Grant said. Not yet. She did not stretch the evidence beyond what it supported, and Mateo noticed. Luca received a message through his earpiece. We found the courier's jacket in a linen room. No case, no credential, and no courier. Evelyn shook her head. If Grant wanted the case outside, he would not have risked the private corridor. Grant snapped toward her. Stop speaking as if you know what I want. I know how this hotel moves. The corridor ends at the signing room, executive elevator, and sealed wine archive. She looked at Mateo. The case is still inside the building. Mateo sent Luca to search the archive. Before Grant could answer, the salon door opened. Marion Bell, the hotel's general manager, entered with 2 board members and Bianca behind her. Marion did not ask whether Evelyn was hurt. She held out her hand. Give me the ledger. It remains with Ms. Hart, Mateo said. Marion's face tightened. That book contains proprietary hotel information. It contains my handwritten work, Evelyn replied. Work performed during paid hours belongs to the Meridian. Then the Meridian can explain why it removed my name from the procedure manual. One board member looked at Marion. What procedure manual? Evelyn answered before Marion could. The restricted service protocol adopted 4 years ago. I wrote it after the medical case incident. Mr. Mercer submitted it under his own name, and Ms. Bell approved the promotion that followed. Marion's silence confirmed more than a denial would have. Mateo realized the woman described in his reports as dependable waitstaff had designed the control system his security team now needed. Marion recovered her authority. Evelyn has received several warnings for exceeding her role. Warnings issued after I corrected executive errors, Evelyn said. You were warned for insubordination. I was warned for refusing to serve almond pastries at a table with a documented allergy. I was warned for rejecting an unsealed liquor delivery. And tonight, I was pushed down for refusing another unrecorded bottle. The pattern settled over the room. It was no longer one cruel moment on a ballroom floor. It was a system trained to punish the woman who kept catching its failures. Marion looked toward Mateo for support. Whatever her history, she has created panic during a contract event. The missing case created the risk, Evelyn said. I merely refused to hide it. Grant saw the room moving away from him. He changed tactics. If her ledger is official, then she violated policy by carrying it against her body instead of locking it at the service desk. Marion seized the opening. That is correct. Lot possession of operational records is grounds for immediate termination. Evelyn had expected the threat for years. Hearing it aloud brought an unexpected calm. Then terminate me, Marion blinked. Do not be dramatic. I am being precise. Evelyn removed her hotel badge and placed it on the table. If preserving an original record during an active breach is misconduct, I will not work under your definition of duty. Mateo straightened. This is not the time to resign. It is exactly the time. Her gaze held his. If I stay because you need my knowledge, they will say I manufactured a crisis to gain influence. If I leave, the record still exists, and you can decide whether the system deserves your trust. You know the signing is in 43 minutes. Your deadline does not own my life. The words struck him because he could contain a ballroom but could not demand her loyalty. Evelyn scanned the relevant page and handed Luca a signed copy. The original stays with me. The copy is enough for you to continue without pretending I am your employee. Marion pointed toward the door. Security will escort you from the property. No, Mateo said. For a moment, Evelyn expected him to overrule her resignation. Instead, he stepped aside. Ms. Hart leaves freely. No one searches her, follows her, or takes that ledger. It was the first time he protected her choice rather than simply protecting his interests. Evelyn walked back through the ballroom as staff members watched in frightened silence. She paused beside Rosa Delgado, a young server whose name appeared on the false transfer. Do not sign anything until you read every line, Evelyn whispered. Rosa's eyes filled with fear. They already told us the missing case was our fault. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but she kept walking. Outside, cool harbor air reached the scrape on her palm. Her phone rang before she reached the employee parking garage. The caller was Helen Shaw, president of an independent hotel group in Boston. I heard there was trouble at your gala, Helen said. There was clarity. Helen paused. Then let me offer some more. Operations director, full hiring authority, independent compliance access, and a salary that reflects the work. The position begins whenever you can reach Boston. Evelyn looked through the glass doors at the ballroom she had held together for 6 years. For once, staying was not her only path to survival. Send the contract, she said. The document arrived before the call ended. Evelyn read the authority clause twice and signed her provisional acceptance. Inside the hotel, the service system began failing without her, and Grant Mercer had already selected 3 innocent employees to take the blame. The first failure came 3 minutes after Evelyn signed the Boston contract. A replacement supervisor sent unverified servers into the private wing using Grant's altered schedule. Luca stopped them, but the terminal delegation was left waiting without clearance. Then ballroom service halted because Evelyn's allergy cross-check had never been added to the hotel system. Finally, the archive team found a broken seal that no executive could explain without her custody sequence. Mateo stood in the center of the conference salon with Evelyn's copied ledger page in his hand. She did not abandon anything. Your management threatened to fire her for preserving evidence. Marion folded her arms. She encouraged the staff to defy procedure. She was the procedure, Luca said. The admission silenced the room. Mateo understood that the system's reliability had a name, and he had allowed the hotel to treat her as disposable. A junior security officer entered, carrying 3 incident forms. Mr. Mercer asked us to hold these employees for questioning. The names were Rosa Delgado, Samuel Price, and Denise Walker. All 3 were banquet servers. All 3 had worked the East Corridor under Evelyn's direction. Grant nodded gravely. Their credentials touched the missing transfer. Luca examined the forms. None of these are signed. They refused. Good, Mateo said. Grant stared at him. Good, no employee signs an accusation prepared by the man whose access is under review. Mateo ordered the 3 servers brought to the salon as witnesses, not suspects. Marion objected that union representation would delay the inquiry. Then call their representative, Mateo said. We will not save time by stealing their rights. In the parking garage, Evelyn confirmed that the Boston contract offered real hiring and safety authority. She placed the black ledger on the passenger seat and started her car. Her phone lit up with a message from Rosa. They put my name on the transfer. They say Samuel and Denise helped me move the case. Evelyn closed her eyes. Leaving remained the correct choice for her future. Driving away while 3 innocent workers carried Grant's crime would be a different choice entirely. She called Helen Shaw and requested 1 hour before leaving the hotel behind. Your judgment is why I hired you, Helen said. Do what it requires. Evelyn ended the call and looked toward the glass doors. She was not returning for Mateo's deadline. She was not returning because his bodyguards had surrounded the people who pushed her. She was returning because truth lost its value if she used it only to save herself. Evelyn took the ledger and walked back into the hotel through the open path Mateo had promised. When she entered the conference salon, Rosa, Samuel, and Denise were seated together with a union representative. Grant stood across from them, speaking in the measured tone of a man arranging blame. Miss Hart instructed these employees to bypass the digital schedule, he said. Her private ledger was designed to conceal those movements. Evelyn stopped in the doorway. Then why did you spend the last hour trying to take it from me? Rosa looked up with visible relief. You resigned, Grant said. I did. Then you have no authority here. I came as a witness carrying the original record. Evelyn looked at the union representative. And I came because 3 employees are being blamed for a transfer they could not have completed. Mateo checked the clock. 34 minutes remained before the scheduled signing. What do you need? He asked. 4 conditions. Grant laughed under his breath. Evelyn ignored him. First, those 3 employees remain witnesses, not suspects, unless evidence proves otherwise. Agreed, Mateo said. Second, Mr. Mercer and Ms. Bell lose access to hotel systems until the review ends, Marion protested. Mateo held up one hand. Agreed. Third, the terminal signing pauses if the case is not recovered and verified by someone outside Grant's chain of command. Mateo's jaw tightened. That condition risked the most important agreement of his year. Agreed. Fourth, I leave when this is finished. No job offer, payment protection order, or personal favor will be treated as a debt I owe. Something in Mateo's expression changed. The man accustomed to buying certainty understood that she was asking him to surrender leverage. Agreed, he said. All 4 conditions will be written and witnessed. Luca recorded the conditions, and the union representative witnessed them. Grant watched the process with contempt. You are giving a waitress control over a terminal contract. No, Mateo replied. I am respecting the professional control she already had, while the rest of us pretended not to see it. Luca placed archive photographs across the table. A retired brass service cart stood away from its assigned wall mark. Evelyn studied the image. That cart is not used for wine. Marian frowned. It belongs to banquet service. I removed it 6 months ago because its left wheel locks underweight. Luca enlarged the photograph. Fresh scratches cut across the stone floor beneath the wheel. Someone moved something heavy on it, he said. Evelyn checked the ledger. My ledger retired it on page 62, but the digital inventory still lists it as active. Grant shrugged. Another clerical error. No, Evelyn said. Another gap available only to someone who knew management ignored my records. Mateo ordered the cart examined in place. The case was not beneath it, but a strip of gray packing fiber clung to the damaged wheel. It matched the lining of the courier jacket found upstairs. The path now ran from Grant's 8th credential to the false transfer, from the false transfer to the deleted schedule, and from the deleted schedule to the archive cart. Still, Evelyn refused to declare the chain complete. The ledger proves access and movement, she said. It does not yet prove where the silver case went or what it contains. Grant smiled again. At last, something sensible. Evelyn turned one page and studied the staff assignments. Rosa, who relieved you at the East Corridor? No one, Rosa said. Mr. Mercer told me the signing room was closed and sent me back to the ballroom. What time? 9:11. 3 minutes before the false transfer. Evelyn looked at Grant. He had cleared the only honest witness before the courier arrived. Then Luca's radio sounded from the archive. His men had found the silver case. It was empty. The empty case did not weaken Evelyn's conclusion. It narrowed it. The case was never meant to leave the hotel, she said. It was only meant to carry the substituted documents past receiving. Grant folded his arms. And now the documents have vanished, which means your ledger proves no crime. It proves the route. Evelyn placed the open book beside the archive photographs. Your 8th credential enabled a false transfer after Rosa was removed and the camera went dark. The schedule was erased 8 minutes later, and the retired cart carried the case into the archive. Luca nodded. One continuous path. A path is not a culprit, Grant said. Then help us identify the person who used your access. Grant pointed toward Mateo's copied page. The authorization code came from his private office. Ask his secretary who borrowed it. Mateo's secretary confirmed that Grant had been alone beside the private terminal at 8:50. Grant shook his head. That does not prove I touched the terminal. It proves opportunity, Luca said, and your altered credential proves access. Grant ordered Marion to remove Evelyn for exposing confidential records. Mateo stopped her from making the call. Her condition suspended your authority. This is my hotel, Marion said, and my contract is the target of the breach you concealed. Mateo's voice remained controlled. You will not use rank to silence the person who found it. Marion stepped back. The terminal delegation, board, donors, and accused employees were now waiting in the ballroom. Evelyn looked at Mateo. This should be presented where the damage was done. The signing room is secure. The signing room protects your reputation. The ballroom restores theirs. She indicated Rosa, Samuel, and Denise. Mateo accepted the rebuke. Luca, move the review to the ballroom. Grant gave a sharp laugh. You intend to let a former waitress conduct a public tribunal? No, Evelyn said. The hotel board and lawful authorities will determine consequences. I intend to explain a service record so no one can pretend these employees created it. Before the doors opened, Mateo asked everyone else to leave the salon. Evelyn remained beside the table, closing her ledger carefully. I owe you an apology, he said. You owe several. The answer surprised a brief breath from him that was almost a laugh, but her expression stopped it. Name them. You removed me before asking what I knew, trusted rank over recorded work, and offered protection before accountability. Mateo received each charge without interrupting. All true. Do you want forgiveness? She asked. Not tonight. Tonight I want to stop the theft, clear those employees, and make my failure public. Evelyn studied him. That is a beginning. He asked permission to arrange care for her palm. Ice after this, she said. Nothing more. He opened the salon door and waited for her to walk through first. 200 people watched Grant enter the ballroom under escort while Evelyn carried the record he had failed to destroy. Luca placed the digital schedule on a ballroom screen. The hotel board sat near the stage with the union representative and terminal delegates. Before this review continues, I will correct the first false record of the evening, he said. Evelyn Hart did not disrupt this gala. I dismissed her warning because I valued title over competence. That decision was mine, and it endangered this agreement and 3 innocent employees. Marion looked down. Grant watched the exits. Mateo placed the microphone on the table in front of Evelyn. The room is yours if you choose to use it. She opened the ledger. This book is not a diary, she told the guests. It is a numbered custody record created because the hotel's digital system can be edited by people with executive access. She explained the 8th credential and false transfer, then called the 3 accused servers forward. Their statements showed that Grant had removed, reassigned, or disabled each of them before the transfer. 3 workers were moved or disabled within 6 minutes, Evelyn said. Not by one another and not by me. Their access was changed from above. Grant stepped toward the microphone. Their stories have been coordinated. Luca blocked him without touching him. You are not authorized to approach. Grant turned to the board. This performance is destroying the Meridian's credibility. The truth cannot destroy credibility that was real, Evelyn said. She displayed the carbon copy beneath the 914 entry. The pressure marks beneath the false transfer preserved Grant's 610 authorization, Mr. Mercer could alter the digital schedule and deny the top signature. He could not remove the impression created when he signed the numbered sheet beneath it. One board member asked why the carbon page had not been stored at the desk. Because Mr. Mercer ordered the desk cleared at 9:05 for a private donor delivery, Evelyn replied. That had never happened before, so I kept the active ledger with me. Grant seized on the statement. There. She admits she violated storage procedure before any alleged breach. I followed the exception you issued. I issued no exception. Evelyn turned to a blank section near the back of the ledger. Then explain why you knew the desk had been cleared. Grant froze. He had repeated a detail Evelyn had not yet spoken into the microphone. We are not finished. She looked toward the clock. 17 minutes remained. The substituted documents are still missing. Mateo signaled Luca to pause the terminal signing. The delegation's lead counsel closed her folder. Grant's face hardened. You just cost him 3 waterfront terminals. No, Evelyn replied. I stopped you from deciding who owns them. She returned to the service assignments and studied the only movement not yet explained. At 9:17, Bianca had requested a fresh tablecloth for the signing table, even though dinner had not been served there. Evelyn looked at the folded white linen covering the document station. Bianca, who told you the first cloth was stained? Bianca glanced at Grant. No one. I saw the mark myself. What color was it? Red wine. Evelyn's gaze remained steady. The signing room has not served red wine tonight. Bianca's mouth opened, but Grant answered first. It was on the lower right corner where the courier set the case. Silence swept across the ballroom. No photograph showed a stain. No witness had described its location. And Grant had just revealed exactly where the missing documents had been hidden. Grant seemed to hear his own mistake only after everyone else understood it. Luca secured the signing table while counsel and the union representative witnessed the inspection. A document envelope lay inside the folded cloth's transport pocket. The envelope carried the Terminal Consortium's seal. Grant's composure broke. That proves Bianca hid it. Bianca recoiled. You told me the original cloth had to be replaced before Matteo arrived. You said it was a security instruction. She is lying. Their argument is not the proof. She returned to the ledger so the room could follow one clear chain. Grant accepted the 8th credential, removed the witness, routed the false transfer, and had access to erase it. The carbon impression preserved his authorization, and he revealed a detail only the person controlling the case would know. She looked toward the board. The ledger identifies who controlled the route and proves why the 3 accused servers could not have done it. The delegation's council opened the recovered envelope. One ownership page had been replaced to transfer control to a consortium financially linked to Grant. Evelyn did not attempt to interpret corporate law. She asked counsel one direct question. Would signing this packet have transferred authority away from the agreement your clients approved? Yes, the attorney said, immediately upon countersignature. Matteo faced Grant. You used my office, my hotel, and workers I failed to protect. Grant's voice turned desperate. I built half your waterfront relationships. You would still be negotiating warehouse leases without me. Then you should have asked for recognition instead of stealing control. Do not lecture me about recognition while giving a waitress the room. Matteo looked toward Evelyn. I did not give her this room. She earned the authority to make it listen. Grant lunged for the recovered envelope. Luca and another guard restrained his arms without striking him. Matteo ordered every record preserved and referred the attempted transfer to lawful financial crimes authorities. Bianca admitted hiding the envelope at Grant's request and was removed pending Evelyn's lawful complaint. Marion tried to distance herself from both of them. I never knew about the terminal scheme. Perhaps not, Evelyn said, but you knew my work was being credited to Grant. You knew warnings were used to punish employees who reported safety failures. And tonight you tried to fire me before you tried to understand the breach. The board suspended Marion and ordered an independent review of her disciplinary record. Rosa, Samuel, and Denise received written confirmation that they were cleared. Keep your copy of everything, she said. A system becomes honest only when the people inside it can challenge the record. The clock showed 9 minutes remaining. Matteo postponed the signing until counsel verified every legitimate page. Then he returned the microphone to Evelyn. There is another record to correct. She faced the same guests who had watched her fall. For 6 years, this hotel called my work helpful when it needed to avoid paying for authority. It called the same work insubordination whenever that authority embarrassed an executive. I will not accept a new title that leaves that structure unchanged. One board member asked what change she required. Evelyn answered without looking at Matteo for permission. Independent control over restricted service verification across every Russo hospitality property. Direct reporting to a compliance committee, not hotel management. Authority to hire and train my own team. The right to audit executive access, halt unsafe events, and stop any transaction that fails custody review. No retaliation against employees who document a good faith concern. And my authority must survive disagreement with Mr. Russo. The final condition drew the strongest reaction. Matteo did not hesitate. Put it in writing. Not as a gift, Evelyn said. As a contract negotiated against my Boston offer. Name your compensation and your exit terms. The board will review both with independent counsel chosen by you. Helen Shaw agreed to keep the Boston position open while Evelyn compared both contracts. 2 days later, Evelyn met both boards with her own attorney. The Russo group accepted every condition and added a voting compliance seat. Evelyn chose the local position because it allowed her to rebuild the system for the workers Grant had exploited. She did not choose it because Matteo needed her. She chose it because she now possessed the power to make the work honest. Rosa, Samuel, and Denise joined her new compliance team. Grant was formally charged after investigators connected the consortium documents to his financial interest. Bianca settled Evelyn's claim and apologized without excuses. Marion lost her position after the review confirmed retaliation and stolen credit. Matteo placed his own access under Evelyn's audit rules and never asked her to soften a finding. 3 months later, he came to her office after business hours and stopped at the open door. May I come in? Evelyn looked up from a training report. For business? No. Then wait until I close the file, he waited. When she finished, he placed no jewelry, contract, or extravagant gift on her desk. He offered a simple invitation to dinner. No bodyguards at the table, she said. They will remain outside the restaurant. No discussion of my contract. Agreed. And dinner does not purchase forgiveness. I know. What does it purchase? Nothing. Matteo's answer was quiet. I am asking for the chance to know you when neither of us is using the other's power. Evelyn studied the man who had once ordered her removed before hearing her speak. One dinner, she said. One dinner, he agreed. He waited for her to choose the restaurant and offered his arm only after she nodded. Affection grew through kept promises, honest disagreement, and the freedom to walk away. When they finally chose a life together, their agreement remained simple. Her authority belonged to her. His power did not outrank her boundaries, and either could say no without punishment. The black ledger stayed in Evelyn's office, not as a symbol of the night a mafia boss saved a fallen waitress, but of the night a waitress saved an entire system and demanded the power to change it. So if everyone in a room dismissed the one person quietly keeping them safe, would you believe her before she produced the proof, or only after the powerful began to listen?